All right, welcome back, everybody, to another exciting episode of AI plus Data Mastery, where we explore how AI and data are reshaping B2B businesses and really all facets. Quick thank you to our two sponsors, Data Accelerator and Evolve with AI. Appreciate you guys allowing us to keep the lights on and interview wonderful people like Mike, who I'll have in front of us. I'm Jason, I'm your host, and without further ado, Mike Abramowitz is here with Better Than Rich, and excited to have him on. He touches a lot of notes in terms of for our audience in B2B. Obviously, he's grown a business within the marketing space, predominantly within the home services. And without further ado, I don't want to mess up the introduction, Mike. So I'll let you jump in and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, Better Than Rich.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me. And the short of it is, I'm the son of a lifelong plumber. My dad's 84, runs a
It's so
plumbing
funny.
business.
I'm the son of a plumber too. Sorry to cut you
Yeah.
off.
So he's been running the business the same way. I'm 40, and he's been running the same business, same model from when I was born until now. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and he's still running the same way, which is grind, work 6 days a week, answer every phone call myself, burn and turn through staff and tech and all of it. So he's 84, still works 6 days a week, still grinds. I love him. He's ambitious. He's fun. But what I do now is to help guys like my dad 30 years ago, because I'm a dad. I got 2 little kids, and my oldest, who will be 5 New Year's Eve, he was born at 1 pound 4 ounces, and we were in the NICU with him for 8.5 months. So during that time, for 254 days, my business at the time ran without me and still did 7 figures in sales because I put systems in place. So what I do and help guys in the trade specifically, and guys like my dad, is to build a business that doesn't rely on them. Although they're able to still be in the business, but they're able to step into the business in places that they're choosing to by choice, not by design. And that's essentially what we're trying to help these owner operators with. And that's what we do. We've helped and plugged into 290 to 295 different businesses now over the last several years, my business partner and I. And I'm really thrilled to help in any way I possibly can, Jason. So I'm here to serve and help where it makes sense to help.
I should have. I knew you. I liked you right off the bat. Yeah, plumber's son. Grew up. People ask me what I did during the summers, and growing up in California, I was like, well, unclogged shitters and crawled under houses and repipe houses, and that type of stuff is how I spent most of my summers. And but my dad always told me, like, you got to do it now because I want you to get an education, so you're not doing this for the rest of your life. But now, fast forward, plumbers are making as much as doctors nowadays, so it is what it is. But yeah, no, I appreciate you being here. And like I mentioned before, what I really want to focus on is that you mentioned starting your business with your business partner to now helping 290 businesses, where I'm assuming how you started on getting client 1 is different than client 290. But can you share a little bit about your process to, I guess, nowadays, or maybe how it's kind of transgressed over the last couple of years in terms of B2B marketing? Is it emailing? Is it trade shows? Is it door knocking? Like, how are you growing your business?
Yeah. So, and for context, we started the business in September 10th of 2021 is when we got out of the hospital with my son. And that's when I called my business coach, who's now my business partner. I said, do you think we could teach other business owners how to do that? So this was concept in the fall of 2021. We launched 2022, just to give you an idea. And we're recording this 2025. So it went from concept to 3 years. Yeah, we'll do right at 7 figures this year, and that's how we got those 290. So I want to make sure that it's known that I'm raised by a blue collar guy, and I went into white collar. My business partner went into white collar, was raised by a blue collar guy, and now we're white collar guys helping the blue collar guys. So
It's a cool story.
yeah, so I spent 20 years in direct sales. So I trained over 5,000 sales reps to do about $20 million in Cutco kitchen knives. So that's where I spent predominantly a lot of my grown-up years, I would say. So just want to make sure that that is clicked on. So how do we generate that? To answer the question, how do we generate 290? All through what I know how to do, which is human capital, social capital. And we don't have client acquisition costs. We're not like mass emailing. It's all through word of mouth. That's how we build our client list. And there's structure behind that. There's intentionality behind that. And that's kind of how I'm speaking here today. It's all word of mouth. So I'll give you a couple of stories, like just to kind of capture this, just make sure it's crystal clear. Okay. We just landed our highest client ever. I was just telling you, we're going out to her ranch in California, and it's $140,000 account. Okay. How did we get her? $140,000 account because her sister, Lorinda, so her name is Joe, and her sister, Lorinda, was a client. How did Lorinda find me? Lorinda found me because she was at an event, and the person that she was talking to said, "Oh, you need to talk to Mike." Well, that guy who she was talking to, his name is Mike, was working at this event because I introduced him to Natalia and Caleb because they're really awesome people, and I got connected to Natalia and Caleb from my business partner who met them 10 years ago. And then from Mike, how did I meet Mike? We were both in a mastermind group called Champion Development, who we were just like in a health group together, and we created friendship. How did I join that Champion Development group? Is because my previous mentor in Cutco, Mike Chu, started this, and I said, I like you. I can learn from you. I'll give you money. He coached me. So I joined this mastermind. Here's the summary of this story. I joined a mastermind group. I added a lot of value to that group as a student. I made friends with other people in the group, invested in those relationships. And because I invested in this relationship, he introduced me to a client. And because I invested in that relationship, she introduced me to her sister. And just from those relationships has generated about $200,000 to $250,000 in business from the relationships. Let me give you one other, and then I'll come up for air, and we'll stop.
Yeah, no, go for it.
When I was running my organization with Vector Marketing Cutco, my staff, I had 4 girls who were in my office. I wanted to give them a gift, but I didn't want to give them cash because it was kind of like weird to just give them money for a bonus. I want to give them a signature experience. So I went to Google and I said, how can I give them a signature experience for girls that are like 19 to 21 years old? And came up where I could give them a shopping experience through a company called Cabby. So it came up, I filled out a form. This woman called me. Her name is Ann. I said, Ann, I have $125 per girl that I'd like to spend. How can I give them a signature experience? She said, send them to my home. I'll take care of them. These 4 girls went to her home. She wined them, gave them a great experience. They went shopping. It was awesome. This was like probably 10 years ago at this point, Jason. We fast forward. I reach out to Ann randomly when I start helping business owners. Like I told you in 2021, I created a warm list. I created a 140-person warm list of everyone that I knew that I could tell them about our launch of Better Than Rich. Who do I know that owns a business that maybe I could add value to? And I made a list of every business owner I ever met, 140 of them. And who was on that list? Ann, because I knew Ann owned a business because she provided a service to my staff that I paid her $125 per girl to, and she sold them some clothes. I call up Ann. I say, hey, Ann, I don't know if you remember me or not. My name is Mike. I sent these girls to your home and you gave them a signature. Of course I remember you. Said, I'd like to do an audit of your business, ask you a couple of questions about your business, see if I could add value. Would you be okay with that? She said, absolutely. We did a call. I said, how was that? She said, it was great. I said, could we do this again? She said, absolutely. We had a second call. Said, how is that? She said, that was great. I said, do you want to have more calls? She said, yes. I said, great. This is my price. She said, great. I'd love to continue having calls with you. We're now in our 4th year of working together. Ann made an introduction to Molly. Molly runs a landscape lighting company in Tampa. Molly is thrilled with all the work that we've done. We've helped her grow from a $700,000, $800,000 business to they're approaching $2 million this year. We built all these systems and infrastructure. Molly introduced me to Darren. Darren sits on the board of AOLP, American Outdoor Lighting Conference. They invited me as a keynote speaker. Now, eight different landscape lighting companies are working with us because Darren had me speak at a conference. So that is a total of 10 new accounts that came from Ann, who was on a random sheet of paper of 140 names of businesses that has generated about $1 million in revenue with 0 ad spend, all investing in relationships. So if anybody is listening to this that is doing cold marketing, cold email, I'm not your guy. We have built since 2021, when we launched this thing, 2022 launch, we've built, I don't know, call it 290 businesses and different tier structured, multiple 7 figures at this point with 0 ad spend outside of our podcast, all by investing in relationships. So we are the epitome of launching based on human capital, warm networks and referrals and introductions. And that's what we help our clients with, but that's also what we do too internally. I know it's two long stories. I just want to lay the context of what happened. I found people in the niche that I wanted to serve. I invested in those relationships and I called them on a phone and actually introduced myself and asked them, how can I add value to you and to your business? And from there, that has led to them wanting to introduce me to more people, to introduce me to more people. That has led to two really great case studies of 7 figures in sales and, a dozen different businesses that we've served.
Those are phenomenal stories. And honestly, things like this is why I even started the show, because everybody thinks they have to like do the same thing. Like, oh, I got to send out 1,000 emails a day, or I have to do this or whatever. I see Hormozi's books are behind you. It's like they feel like they have to do the same thing everybody else is doing. But somebody like yourself, who's like, you're like, look, I'm not your cold email guy. We don't cold call. Like, I just take warm relationships and foster them and watch them spider web. But
dude, that is Hormozi. Jason, that is
Hormozi. Well, that's part of Hormozi. You're right. You're right. I've listened to all of his stuff.
He has his little paradigm, right? The $100 million leads. It's one-to-one and one-to-many, cold and warm. Everything I just hit on is one-to-one warm. And we've built a 7-figure business on one-to-one warm and one-to-many warm. That's this. I consider this a one-to-many warm. I don't know how we got connected. I've been a guest on over 100 podcasts, Jason. How do I get them? All through one-to-one or one-to-many warm. My assistant books me for these shows. We have relationships with people. We have our own podcast as well. So I don't want to like water it down. We're just like this random guy that's just doing this, reach out and stuff. But one-to-one many, one-to-one warm. We still play in the sandbox of one-to-many cold and one-to-one cold, but like majority of business is coming from these warm relationships. And I feel like as a B2B, if that's what you want to do, we got to nurture those relationships. We're going to talk about AI, but man, that sniff test, these B2B guys, they don't, maybe 2 years ago, it was like, wow, AI is awesome. And now it's like, dude, if you're using AI to market to me, bro, you're missing the boat. Like I'm going to leave you on red.
So let's segue into this, because that was one of the kind of common recurring things from some of my past episodes is, especially on the B2B side, where, and everybody has a different answer, there's no right or wrong answer, but where do you stop the AI automation, like that AI SDR that's sending out, 1,000, several thousand emails a day? And then where do you bring in that human connection? Because, B2B, it's not a tube of toothpaste or a pair of shoes like an e-com brand. You're selling a 6-figure, 7-figure yearly contract. There has to be that human relationship there. So when are you saying like, it needs to be a human relationship throughout the whole process? Are you saying, hey, like maybe an AI SDR can open the door, but then that person has to come in right away? Like, what's your take on the?
I think it's a both end. I think there's a both end. There's a way to use AI. So the question is, the real question that I hear you asking, Jason, is how can I use AI to improve and strengthen the relationship with someone I've never met before? That's really the question that I hear you asking. And that's a great question. So what we like to do is, I'm doing this right now. My SDR, what he's doing, he is recording Loom videos, personalized, doing audits inside of, I joined NEFBA, Northeast Florida Builders Association, and also the local Chamber of Commerce here. There's maybe 1,500 people there. So these are like cold, but they're warm because we're a part of the same organization. And he's recording 3-minute Loom videos, maybe 5-minute Loom videos, doing an audit of their website. That's what I'm paying them to do.
That's the cold outreach.
This is our cold outreach. We're taking the transcription from that and running that through AI. And then my virtual assistant, my human assistant, is taking that transcription and that AI to turn that into a 3-email text message sequence that we're going to send to them paired with that video. So we're taking a video of a human and running that through AI to create an authentic, personalized human connection in an email and a text message with a 3-touch sequence. Now, do I have data to tell you that's the way? No, I don't. It just feels what feels good for me and for us to do with a network that is warm, that I'm going to see these people. I'm going to a meeting tomorrow. Maybe I meet them, maybe I don't. And that's what feels good for my brand and my ethos. So that's what we're doing. What we suggest to other businesses and what they might do in B2B they might do use like Apollo. I don't know if you've had Apollo
Yeah, yeah.
come up. So you could we do this for some of our cold outreach for some of our B2B. Like if a plumber wants to get the attention of a roofer because they're both serving the same homeowner and they want to create strategic partnership, we export the list from apollo.io, we put it into Go High Level, and we have a 3 email sequence and texting sequence that goes through Go High Level that says, hey, I'm a plumber, you're a roofer, we're both serving homeowners. I wanted to see if you'd be down to have a cup of coffee and just see if maybe we can create a partnership where I send you customers and you send me customers. Would you be open to having that conversation? And it's a very simple plain text email and a plain text message. And it looks like a human sent it. But we're training the AI to send it as if it's so plain Jane and doesn't look so emoji and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's not like all bullet pointed. Hey, Mike, I'm Jason at XYZ Plumber. I'm here in the same, local area, San Diego, California. Let's grab lunch one day soon, something like that.
That's the extent of the cold outreach that we're doing in that regard. I personally haven't done it. I chose not to do it that way personally yet, because we could only onboard maybe 3 businesses a month, maybe, because we're so high touch and so like high end that I don't want to do the mass. But if I was to do mass, like, if my average ticket was 1,500 or even 10,000, our average ticket is like 50 to 100,000. So it's just like, it's hot. It's much more relational for this B2B.
Yeah, you have your deliverables and your touches are a lot more than just like, hey, click here and buy this and download this and move on to the next one.
Correct. So that's why I want to use, that's why I'm using a different approach and a different strategy, using like the video and the transcription. And we're just launched. We're just pressing go. Like I did it myself, but it just like became a to-do on my to-do list. And I was like only doing it like here and there. So that's why I hired someone to do it.
I think the answer is obvious, but do you think that the way you establish that relationship, so taking that referral or kind of, how it's kind of spider web, one person refers and refers and refers, like, do you think it's easier to close a deal or close these bigger clients than say taking somebody from a cold email and trying to get them into that, $100,000 a year contract, right? Because the trust and credibility, like that kind of goes out the door when it's a referral, it's already there, right? Or it's kind of assumed.
Spot on, brother. That's why I don't mess with it, man. To build the like trust with a complete stranger who never met me before is really daggone hard. It takes a lot of it, like a lot of intentionality. And frankly, I like doing business with people that already have my story. They understand who I am. Like there's some sort of, like I said, there's some sort of like trust. And to establish that with a stranger, man, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's a little bit more of a long game. And I like to establish these relationships. I want to have a lifetime value with these people. And frankly, Jason, I do so much stuff for free. This is here's one that I think you'll like. So here's one of the things I do. I have about 200 testimonials. So for B2B, how valuable are testimonials, right?
Oh, they're gold. I mean, that's like the best marketing asset you could ever have.
So what I do is during these I do tons of free calls like this free, like I love just talking business. So someone hops on my schedule, I do a conversation with them. They hop on, I say, I'm going to give you a tremendous amount of value today. There's no pitch, zero pitch. If you want to set up a second call, we could have a second conversation. I'll tell you about our services. This first conversation is only about, let me solve one problem in your business that I can help you with today. Great. All I ask in exchange is, if this is helpful, is while this is being recorded and my note taker's taking these notes, is if it's helpful, can you just say a blurb at the end about what was helpful about this conversation? And would you recommend it to other people? Only if it's helpful. Is that okay? They say, great. They say, sure. I give them a ton of value. And at the end, I say, how was this conversation? Was this helpful? They're like, I cannot believe how much you got done for me during this time. I say, great. This is still being recorded. I'm going to give a blurb in the chat. Would you mind just like saying about what was true, what was authentic? And they're like, absolutely. I spotlight them on the screen. We do it on Zoom. They spotlight and they're like, I just finished 30 minutes with Mike. I can't believe how much he got done. We got done this, and this, and this. I highly recommend Mike and Better Than
Yeah,
Rich.
you're crazy for not booking a call with him, that type of stuff.
Right? So now we have a YouTube channel. Like I said, there's about 200 testimonials, our website testimonials. I have a Google Drive of all these videos, and then we just repurpose it. Now that's our social media content. That's our emails. That's like, and then like when someone they know, if I hop on a call and I say, hey, Jason, how did we get connected? And you say, oh, John Smith. I say, oh shit, you know John Smith? I actually met John Smith. This is what John Smith had to say about a conversation that we had. And now I could use it in the conversion and the courting and that type of process.
Yeah, or even if you're talking to a plumber and you're like, hey, you're in the plumbing, heating, and airspace. When I get off the call here, I'm going to shoot you videos of 5 plumbers and what they had to say about us, right? And, that's huge.
Huge, right? Yeah, exactly. So like that's like so this is a piece of why my approach is the human capital, human equity, the one-to-one warm as much as possible, because the trust factor is there. And I think that's a really important piece to not lose. Now, I just want to make sure I click on this AI piece though, because I use AI all day. Like 60% of my workday is AI. I'm just using it as a strategist, not as rewrite this email. So we had someone on my podcast called, I don't know, have you met Jeff Woods? Do you know him?
Name sounds familiar, maybe.
He literally wrote the book. It's called The AI Driven Leader. And he has a framework that is super helpful. It's called CRIT, CRIT. And CRIT is context, role, interview, task. This is how to use AI as a strategist, not as a, rewrite this email for me. So the context might be, I need you to rewrite an email for me. Context, CRIT, role. So you're going to take on the role of an expert copywriter. Interview. Before you create an email for me, interview me with at least 5 questions to pull out of me what the purpose of this email is. Task. Then you're going to write the email for me. So now instead of AI telling me, it's AI interviewing me to pull out of me the necessary input so it can give me quality output. Now AI becomes a strategist, not a doer. And the more that business owners can create AI as another strategist, now it becomes a high-paying coach that we used to business. We used to pay a coach, what, $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month?
Yeah, at least.
Now
right?
I get it for $20 a month because I'm training it using this CRIT framework. Now there's other frameworks we could hit on, and I don't know how we're doing on time, but that's one that I really use a lot. And I have others that if you want me to riff on those, I could.
Well, the CRIT one, I mean, I've never heard of the interview piece where you ask AI to ask you questions. I mean, how you kind of explain the prompt I think is common how most people explain it, but that was a unique spin. I've never heard to ask the interview question in there and then write the email. That was, heck, if I got one thing from this podcast, I just learned something. So it's all worth it at this point. But let's go over what is another prompt or framework that you like to use.
Another framework is ATB, Avatar, Tone, and Brand. I will never have AI write anything unless it's already trained on the avatar of who I'm writing for, tone, what tone I want to take with that person, and then brand, what is my ethos of our company, the mission, values, purpose, why we're in business, what our offer is. So before I ever create any output, myself, my team, we got a 25, 30 person team. Anything that they ever write ever always runs through an ATB. Avatar, who are we writing for? Tone, what is the style of tone that we want to take for that person? And brand, what is the brand that we're representing? And if you don't have this, if a listener wants this, I have tons of custom prompts that I can gift to you or any of the listeners. They can go to betterthanrich.com/timerich. And it is an opt-in, but there's like, I don't know.
I mean, it sounds like it's worth giving up an email address for.
It's tons. I have tons of prompts in there.
I might have to go grab it myself.
Management prompt. I mean, like I say, there's probably about 30 or 40 assets that are inside of that email.
Repeat that domain again real quick.
betterthanrich.com/timerich.
Okay.
And they just go there and they just put an opt-in. And obviously you'll get like an email sequence and market it to, but ultimately you'll get immediate access. You'll get emailed to you on tons of prompts that will help you delegate your inbox, delegate your writing style, creating SOPs fast. Like there was I'll give you the short version here. There was a sequence of my life where I thought before we started doing this high ticket stuff that we're doing that I was going to do like the low ticket stuff. And like that was my opt-in. So I spent about 150 hours playing with AI to build all this, thinking that that's what the marketplace wanted, and then realized they didn't want that. They wanted human. They wanted me to fly out to their location and build with them. And they wanted to come here to Florida and us build. So now we do an install event where it's like 3 days high ticket. So all the low ticket lead magnet stuff that I built, none of these guys even really care about, because they're like, I don't want homework. Do the shit for me. I'll pay you to just do it for me. So all this like cool stuff that I built, I'm now just giving away for free, because the people that I'm serving, they don't even want it. And I'm just like, I already spent the time. It
still served a useful purpose, because you learned, you got attention, and yeah, but I see what you mean.
But that's essentially why I just gift it away now, because like it's like whatever, it's gonna help. I believe it will add value to the marketplace, and then maybe it'll come back. But I was initially gonna sell that.
Well, it sounds like it keeps coming back with the relationships. I mean, obviously what you're doing is working, but at some point you're like, hey, I'm going to give shit away to 100 people. One of them's going to appreciate it and either do business with me or refer them to somebody to do business with.
We were going to sell that for 15 grand, just to give you an idea. So now we just give it away for free. Wow. Like, so it was going to be our low tier ticket. Like, oh, you don't want to work with us at the high ticket. You don't want to pay us 60 or 100 grand here. Just buy this for 15 grand. But we're like, we don't even want to mess around with low tier offers right now, because we feel in our experience, if I give you homework to do, you're not going to do it. And then you're going to blame me for it not working in your business. And I don't want to have my reputation tied to your shitty results. Sorry, I cursed twice now, but
I've already cursed a couple of times. Don't worry about it.
I just don't want my reputation tied to your terrible results. So therefore, I only want to do high touch, high value at this season that we're in. And everyone else, I'll just do. It's almost like I'll sell you, here's the recipe for free. But if you want it cooked for you, then you'll hire us. That's kind of our mantra right now. And I'm not saying that's the way for B2B, but I truly believe that most of these businesses, they're tired of the fluff and the masterminds and the coaching and the, prompting and all this stuff. They're
trade just like, shows and conferences, and
it's overkill at this point, man. They're like, just get the thing done for me and I'll pay you to do it. So I don't have to like learn it, and I don't have to spend my time thinking about it. Like, that's what I feel a lot of these businesses want, and they're willing to pay for it.
Well, yeah, because as a B2B business owner, or a leader, you're so involved in your own product or services. It's like you get so linear focused, because it's either that was your baby, that was your creation, or something along those lines. But yeah, then they just get so narrowly focused. They don't want to deal with it. They're like, I don't want to deal with marketing. I don't want to deal with emails and opt-ins and all this other stuff. Yeah, just do it. And if it works, I'm happy to pay you for it. And I mean, but that's again, another reason why I like the B2B space, where it's a little more kind of black and white, versus like e-com or other niches, so to speak. And it's unique in itself, needing that relationship, needing that human touch. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see, like you're saying, that kind of flush of AI, and then it kind of pull back because everybody's recognizing it, and find that each business, it's going to be different. What is that happy medium where you can grab somebody's attention, but you're not insulting them before you can get that human person in there to build that relationship and continue to foster it?
Yeah, it feels icky, dude. I mean, I get a text message from someone that's a friend that I could sense that it was like written by AI, and like I want to be compassionate. I'm like, I know what you did here, but I'm like, it just feels bad. And my wife is actually who taught that to me, by the way, for whatever it's worth. I used to do that shit. It's like, hey, give me something. My wife just sent me this text. I would send a screenshot to AI and be like, how should I respond to this? And be like, yeah, that's good. And I would just text her. And then we were in like a couples therapy, and she brought it up. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know you liked it. And she helped me see like how it felt. And I was like, damn, I didn't see it that way. She's like, it feels inauthentic. I know your intentions are probably good, and you thought it, perfect was what you wanted, but it doesn't feel good when you're deferring your relationship with me to AI. And I was like, damn, gut check. So I brought that to the business, and I brought that gut check to my business. I'm like, I don't want clients to feel the way my wife felt, where it's like I'm so rushed to try to establish a relationship with you that I'm losing the human connection. You don't want a relationship with AI, you want a relationship with me. So I got to figure out a way to do that where it goes hand in hand, where it's a both end. And coming back to the very first point I made, which is the question I heard you say is, how might I use AI to strengthen the human relationship with these people in the business setting? And that's kind of the whole title of the show, pretty much, is what it came down to.
Yeah, and I think the key word that you mentioned there is establish. And that's where I know when I talk to clients or the people on the show, I think AI will help you start and like basically start the relationship. But once that relationship is established, like with your wife, obviously that's an established relationship. She's like, hey, like we already know each other. You're throwing me in AI. Like if you misspell a word or your grammar's a little off, like I really don't care. Like why would you need it to go through AI? And I feel like that's the same thing with business. Like once that relationship is established, that's when you need to make sure that human connection. If you're doing great results for a business and you text the CEO and you say I'm gonna versus I'm going to, he's not gonna be like, oh, this guy doesn't even know how to speak English. I'm done with him. We're canceling the contract, right? It's talk to text. It's a human error, or it's it's just normal. It's personable, and I think I know I personally, when we do the AI email, I'll even prompt it in to make sure there's at least one small grammatical error. Use your versus you are or something like that, so that way it looks just slightly off, like a human could have actually wrote it.
And here's what I'll say. Whatever you did to get me on the show, I'm sure it was your AI and your virtual assistant talking to my virtual assistant using my AI. And if business owners are not doing that and functioning that way, then that would be a great place to start. I'm sure Jason has a human virtual assistant, probably somewhere around the world like I do. And I'm sure that virtual assistant is using AI to respond as Jason in some cases, or respond as themselves using some sort of trained AI. And that's how he's doing outreach. That's how I would recommend doing it as well. However, I want to make sure it's crystal clear. We want to make sure that if your AI and your assistant is communicating to another AI and another assistant, there's a process behind it, right? There's a process behind it. There's a vetting process. And how are you auditing to make sure that it doesn't feel icky would be my suggestion. I'm sure Jason has done that. I know Jason has done that because I'm here.
And a lot of that, like that auditing,
she took a screenshot. She said, is this spam or do you want me to pursue it? She's like, she knew, but we have a process internally about what that looks like. And I think it's important for listeners to have a communication process to make sure it passes a sniff test. Jason did a good job. Whatever Jason's doing, model it, is what I'm saying, because it passed the sniff test.
I appreciate that.
That's so you're using AI, you're using probably someone in the Philippines like me, or someone around the world, monitoring your inboxes and sending this stuff out. And you're using technology and probably Go High Level or some sort of CRM to maneuver all this stuff, and LinkedIn technology tools.
Yeah, instantly Go High Level, VAs, AI, like it's all stacked together. But you're right, there has to be that point where that human connection does come in, or that human connection. Like I'll tell you right now, you're sending out emails or you're sending out a text message. If you're getting the response back, hey, is this AI? This sounds like AI. Guess what? Everybody thinks it's AI. That's the initial, the reply rates and how people are replying. And, you got to start people poking around asking if it's AI, then you're probably sounding a little too perfect or, polished, so to speak. And it's not passing the sniff test. But yeah, you have to have that human kind of checks and balances on there to keep everything in line and make sure that you are achieving the goals that you are, set out to.
Well, you're doing it right now. We're here in person. That's your process. So business owners, take note. Jason did what he did to get my attention as a business owner. And now we're here having a human connection. And he's going to keep me online. We're going to have another human conversation off air, see where the conversation goes. And we're going to see where the relationship goes from here. Maybe there's something that I offer that his audience can help with. Maybe he offers something that my audience or my business can help with. Maybe it falls flat. but there's a
Yeah,
relationship.
maybe it might not be till 6 months down the road where somebody
Correct, but the
pops up and I'm like,
relationship is
hey, I
established.
remember Mike that I interviewed 6 months ago. He'd be perfect for you, or vice versa, right? You never know
Correct.
where it's gonna go.
And that's why I'm here. I'm willing to have these conversations because Jason used AI to get my attention. And now we have a human conversation, a human interaction. So using the B2B focus, AI will get someone's attention, and we want to inject the relationship somewhere early on in that client or that prospect journey so you can nurture and foster a relationship. And then frankly, after I'm done talking to Jason, I'm sure I'm going to get marketed to with more AI stuff and that maybe not, that's going to be already pre-written, and that's totally cool. Like that's the game that we're in as business owners. And then maybe there's another human interaction at some point down the road. Awesome.
The
That's the
point
game.
is that there is human interaction
Yes.
along the road. That's the
Correct.
main point, especially with the B2B. You have to figure out where that human action comes along that prospect journey
Yes.
between prospect to client. And I think
Yeah.
that's where, you know, business owners like myself, they just want to, hey, how can I 100% automate it? It's like, okay, well, I mean, can you? Yes, but are you going to get that desired result? No. Like you or somebody at your team or at your company does have to step in, establish a relationship, build trust and credibility.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the conversation, Jason. I just realized we're at 35 minutes. I'm like, dang,
No,
sorry
don't even
about
worry
that.
about it. So real quick, then let's wrap it up. You got a ton of books behind you there. If you had to, if you were pinned against a corner and you had to pick one book that changed your life, what would it be?
I recommend Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Dude, I love Dan Martell. I've been listening to all of his stuff. I actually haven't bought his book, which ironic. I feel like I listen to his podcast and everything on like a daily basis, but I got to get that one.
I recommend it to the listener because it aligns with what we're talking about. Because his replacement ladder, he talks about administrative, marketing, fulfillment, sales, leadership. That order of delegation to buy back time is really important. And when we're using AI and using humans, administrative, great. But when you get into the marketing and the fulfillment, we still need to make sure we're having human connection. But I love the idea of that I can buy back my time so I can have conversations like this. But if I'm so stuck in the day-to-day and inside the business that I can't make the time for the human connection, that's why I would recommend Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Get yourself a virtual assistant, get your administrative offloaded, get some of those systems in place, implement a 10-80-10 principle like he talks about. 10% started by me, 80% done by someone else, 10% audited by me at the end, right? Like just all those principles he teaches in the book is just fantastic.
Yeah, I've became a huge fan of him. I kind of kicking myself in the butt for not getting the book sooner, but I will definitely jump on that. And if anybody, I mean, his podcast, he has a podcast himself and a YouTube channel, and his even his content on Instagram and stuff is very valuable. Definitely worthwhile. He adds a lot of value, for free basically. But then the same thing with him. I'm now in his text channel. I think I've opted in to get something for free. So now I get an email and a text message once a week with him poking me on his coaching and things like that. But that's because, he gave me enough value up front that I gave him some information, and now he's able to market to me like that. But it all started with building that relationship by adding value up front. So I think this was a phenomenal episode, one of the best ones we've had yet, and I really appreciate your time. And we'll obviously stay in touch. And like I tell most of my guests, with AI and data, everything's moving so fast. It's going to be really cool if you're open to it, where we do this again in like 6 or 12 months and kind of reflect back on what's happened since the last time we've spoke. So that's kind of like my plan. I'm earmarking the good interviews so I can reach out to you guys again in the future, and we can kind of, keep going with this forward progress with AI and data, and hopefully keep our audiences up to date. So really appreciate your time, Mike. Any last words before we sign off here?
I would say if anybody is in the trades or services guys in the trades or anything like that, betterthanrich.com/GSD. That goes directly to my calendar. It stands for Get Shit Done. But that way you could get directly to me so we could collaborate on how to help more guys in the trades and the home services. So betterthanrich.com/GSD. That will get you right on my calendar. And I would love to just jam on how we could help these guys get out of the van and to their kitchen table for dinner time. Right. So
yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend you jump over there and book a call with Mike and his team and see how they can help you out. And then don't forget to like or subscribe, follow us on social media on all the different channels, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, you name it, we're there. Don't forget to subscribe here to the YouTube channel. visit Mike's site, and I appreciate everybody's time. Thanks for being here, and see you again real soon.